New developments today. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo was arrested late Friday night. Savannah police say the 24-year-old, whose real name is Taekwon Terrell Bowman, was taken into custody after being served with a warrant. Bowman was a passenger in a car that was pulled over around midnight Friday. This arrest comes nearly 6 months after Bowman was indicted on 4 felony charges, including violating the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Bowman also has a previous nonviolent felony conviction on his record from 2017.
Right now, the search is on for 3 people who police say shot at a Savannah rapper, killing a member of his entourage. It happened in Los Angeles, and cameras captured the aftermath. Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight. It all started at this mobile gas station at 5:30 Friday evening. LAPD says witnesses heard multiple gunshots, then watched a couple cars zoom off. 3 people in one car shot at this black Cadillac Escalade. It's unclear if those inside shot back.
Can I get some space, please?
It ended at Santa Monica Boulevard. Deputies found it peppered with bullet holes and a shattered window. One man inside, a member of Rondo's entourage, had been shot. The 23-year-old was taken to the hospital where he died. A scene left with remnants of the fight, shoes left in the street, doors flung open. The suspects still on the run. We still don't know what spurred it all, but LAPD says it started at a gas pump.
Victim vehicle, they pulled up, they were pumping gas, and it looks like they probably finished pumping gas, and the suspects approached from the alley, got out of the car, and started shooting at those victims.
Investigators are still trying to piece together details, but they're looking for a white 4-door sedan with suspects wearing dark clothing.
Police helicopters overhead, so we knew something was up.
People in the neighborhood shocked by the news.
Disappointed. There have been a lot of incidents in the past couple of years. It does seem that things have been happening more often on Melrose, between Fairfax and Melrose and around here.
All right, y'all, how y'all doing? Feeling a little better. This one here is for 2 people. Well, really one that hit me up 3 times and said, "True, can you please see what you can find on Quando Rondo, as in paperwork?" And I'm like, "I'll see." And here it goes. So, and the other person, this is for you too. So, let's see what Quando Rondo talking about, since he's in the feds, as is Lil Durk, right? So we gotta actually, I want to know too. I haven't read it yet. I just pulled it up and getting straight to the business. So for the True family members that wanted this special request, here we go. Taekwon Bowman, defendant, Quando Rondo, Savannah, Georgia. Yep. Just hold on for a minute. All right. I don't know if I should read. let me see. I'm gonna do the best I can. I ain't with reading all this, but that's where the details lie. So here we go. 11:34 a.m. All right. This is the court. All right. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Out here from the United States, then on this burden in chief, Mr. Thompson. Yes, Your Honor. We will call Richard Daskell to the stand, Your Honor. Very well, sir. If you please approach the witness stand, and just before you sit, I'll ask you to turn, raise your right hand, face the clerk, and she'll administer you an oath. The clerk, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do, ma'am. Have a seat. Please state your name, spell your first and last name for the record. Agent Richard Daskell, R-I-C-H-A-R-D D-A-S-C-A-L-L. You may proceed, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Your Honor. If I could have just one moment to get the computer set up before I... Certainly. Thank you, Your Honor. Richard Daskell, being first duly sworn, testify as follows. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Can you introduce yourself for the court? I'm Agent Richard Dascale. Okay, an agent. How are you employed? I'm currently employed with the Tybee Island Police Department and have been since 2010. Okay, what is your role with the Tybee Island Police Department? I am currently assigned to the Chapman Savannah Counter Narcotics Team Major Case Unit. What is the Chapman Savannah Counter Narcotics Team? It's a multi-agency task force directed at dealing with narcotics inside Chapman County. And how long have you been so employed? I have been assigned to CNT for short since 2021. And prior to that, you were with the Tybee Island Police Department for 10 years. Yes, sir. I started there in 2010. I attended the police academy in 2013. And prior to coming to CNT, I was a patrol sergeant for about a year and a half. And are you what's called POST certified? I am, sir. Can you explain to the court what POST certification is? It means that I have attended and successfully completed the police academy. And again, I became employed with the Tybee Island Police Department in 2010. I started there as a jailer. There is a POST number for that, but I became a police officer in 2013. What does it take to obtain POST certification? You have to apply to POST and you have to attend the basic academy. And is it 480 hours of training for the police academy? Yes, sir. And then every year, do you have to continue POST hours to continue your certification? Yes, sir. There's a minimum of 20 hours required every year. And there are also certain courses that are being mandated now by the governor. Now, as part of your employment with CNT, were you involved in an investigation of a group known as the Jump Out Gang? Yes, sir, I was. Okay, and are you aware that that investigation ultimately involved the interception of communications over a wiretap of 9 phone lines in the spring, early summer of last year? This year. I'm aware of that, sir. And 3 of those lines were associated with Mr. Bowman, correct? Quando Rondo. Yes, sir. All right. Do you see Quando Rondo in court today? I do, sir. Can you point him out and identify him by an article of clothing? He is wearing the green and white jumpsuit sitting to your left. Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Mr. Bowman, a.k.a. Quando Rondo. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, are you familiar with Quando Rondo's voice? I am, sir. How did you become familiar with Quando's voice? I've listened to his music. I've watched YouTube videos where he did interviews. Y'all better pay attention. That's all they doing. And again, I've reviewed several, I don't even know how many, phone calls as part of this investigation. All right. Now I have here a diss. If I could approach the witness, Your Honor, you may. Agent Dascale, this prior to court today, have you reviewed calls involving Quando in preparation for today's hearing? I have, sir. Okay, and there are 10 calls for this hearing, correct? Yes, sir. And those are the 10 that are burnt on the disc there. I assume so, sir. And they've already been admitted exhibits 1 through 10, but that's the disc that will contain those calls, correct? Yes, sir. So let's turn to the exhibits, okay? Yes, sir. First, we're going to talk about target telephone number 2. And just for clarity for the court, when we say a target telephone, that's a phone that is authorized to be intercepted, correct? Yes, sir. And you start at the beginning with 1 and going as long as the investigation goes, correct? Yes, sir, that's correct. So target telephone 2 was a phone number associated with a Donald Davis, known as Lil D. Yes, sir, it was. I'm going to direct your attention to March the 20th of 2023. Based upon this interception, did Mr. Davis and Quando speak on telephone 2 that day? Yes, sir, I believe they did. And that was call number 364 on the intercept. I believe so, sir. I've got that here. If I could publish Exhibit 2, Your Honor, you may. They played the audio. All right, so did you recognize the two voices on that call? I did, sir. The first voice talks about pulling up. Whose voice is that? Donald Davis, sir. And the second voice we hear, whose voice is that? Taekwon Bowman, Quando. Okay, based upon your training, experience, and investigation, we heard Quando refer to a banger. Yes, sir. Can you explain to the court what the term banger refers to in your investigation? Generally, that means a firearm, sir. Did Quando later in the call indicate pulling out a gun? Yes, sir. And then there was a term Quando used, flatline. Yes, sir. Based upon your training and experience, what does flatline mean? Means kill someone. Objection. Lack of foundation, Your Honor. Overruled. The witness may answer. That means to kill someone, sir. All right. So, and you indicated this was an investigation of the group known as the Jump Out Gang, correct? Yes, sir. Did you hear Quando in Exhibit 1 actually refer to the Jump Out Gang? I did, sir. All right. Now, let's turn to target telephone number 5. Yes, sir. Was that a phone number involving Mr. or involving Quando? Yes, sir. All right. And now direct your attention to Exhibit 2, which is a call number 72 made on April the 9th, 2023. And they playing the audio. If I could publish Exhibit 2, Your Honor, you may publish. All right. Agent Dascale, did you recognize at least one voice on that call? I did, sir. Was it the first voice or the second voice? It would have been the second voice, sir. Did you recognize the first voice at all? I didn't. The second voice, who did you recognize that to be? Quando. Okay. And the first individual indicated that Quando left his perks out. Yes, sir. On the table? Yes, sir. Based on your training experience in this investigation, what are perks? Percocet, controlled substance. All right. And did you hear Quando refer to Italy being there? I did, sir. And based on your investigation, who is Italy? That's his daughter, sir. At the time of this, how old would she have been? I believe 4 years old. I could be wrong about that, but around that age. All right. Let me direct your attention to call number 340 on target telephone number 5. It was made on April the 14th, 2023. It's already been admitted as Exhibit 3. If I could play Exhibit 3, Your Honor, you may. They playing the audio. Pause the audio if you would, Mr. Thompson. Yes, sir. And that's at 6:25:01. Thank you. My apologies, folks. Everyone, just please remain in your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, in light of the fact that we have a power outage, we're going to have to take a brief recess to the proceedings. Parties and counsel just remain at counsel table for the moment. Anyone in the gallery who would like to stretch their legs or step outside for a minute or two, you certainly can. Proceedings stood in recess from 11:54 a.m. until about 1:18 p.m. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We appear to have power restored. And counsel, for your notice, I have canceled all of the remaining matters on my calendar this afternoon for purposes of completing this hearing. Mr. Thompson, we were in the middle of your direct examination of your witness, Mr. Dascale. You were on Exhibit 3 at approximately the 6 minute something mark. I don't remember precisely where. Are you prepared to pick up at that point, or does your witness need to hear the entirety of the recording again from the beginning for purposes of any examination? No, Your Honor, I think we can pick up from that point. I think we're going to stop the replay at that point for sake of brevity and just question a little bit about it and move on. All right? Then let's have your witness retake the stand. Thank you, Your Honor. Agent Dascale, I remind you your oath is still in effect. Thank you, Your Honor. If I may, Your Honor, you may. Please proceed. And just for the record, we did stop playback on Exhibit 3 at the 6 minute 25 seconds. Mr. Daskell, I'm sorry. Agent Daskell, prior to the power outage, you listened to Exhibit 3. Yes, sir. Do you recall that? Okay. Did you recognize a male voice in that call? I did, sir. And whose voice was that? Quando's. Now, we heard Quando talking about something called Perk 30s. Do you recall that part? I do, sir. Based upon your training and experience in this investigation, can you explain what a Perk 30 is? It's, again, a Percocet pill. Okay. And then he referred to something as blues. Yes, sir. Those blues are the common street term for imitation Percocet. Okay. When you say imitation Percocet, what does that mean? Pressed fentanyl pills, sir. Okay. In this case, did you actually recover through controlled purchase as well as search warrants, blue pills? Yes, sir. I believe there were blue pills recovered from the search warrant at 1301 East 39th Street.
We begin tonight with a story you will only see on WJCL 22 News. The attorney for Taekwon Bowman, better known as Quando Rondo, is speaking out after the district attorney's office filed a motion to have the famous Savannah rapper banned pending trial from Chatham County. The filing claims he was the target of a number of shootings, including this one 10 days ago on Skidaway Road. And because of those shootings, prosecutors say Bowman's presence poses a danger to the citizens of Chatham County. But Bowman's attorney and family vehemently deny that claim. This afternoon, I sat down with attorney Kimberly Copeland and Bowman's great aunt to get their side of the story.
Mr. Bowman is a resident of Chatham County. He was born in Chatham County. There's no reason that he should be banned from Chatham County.
Attorney Kimberly Copeland speaking out after the state filed a motion to ban Taekwon Bowman from Chatham County.
If Mr. Bowman was the actual target, wherever he's at, he'll be a target. So the best place for him to be is in his surrounding that he's familiar with, where he have his support and family support.
Friday's court filings say the September 20th shooting on Skidaway Road, a May 2021 shooting in Blackshear, and the August 2022 murder of Bowman's friend in Los Angeles show Bowman is a target and that his presence in Chatham, quote, poses a significant risk to members of our community.
If the state was really concerned if Mr. Bowman was actually a target, they should be trying to get him security. I've never seen what a victim is. If he was the target, he would have been a victim in this situation. Why would he be punished?
Copeland says neither she nor Bowman were contacted by the district attorney or police after the September 20th incident.
We uplifting him.
Alfreda Brown, Bowman's great aunt, says it's faith and family that have kept him strong since being accused of violating Georgia's Street Gang Terrorism Act.
With them trying to get him out of Savannah, it's not right. I don't see what he did. He ain't shot nobody, he ain't bothered nobody. He be with his family. What he did.
The DA's argument in that motion is essentially that, having him in Chatham County is too much of a threat for the community. So I wonder, for you, his great aunt, are you ever scared when you're around him for other people?
No, they ain't took Paula Dean away from Savannah. She is a celebrity. He is young and he's black. And he's being successful. That's what that is.
Despite it all, Brown and the rest of Bowman's family say they'll always stand with him. Always.
We love him, and we're going to support him. He's supporting us, and we love him. We family.
Now, we should note that Taekwon Bowman was present for our conversations today, but elected to not speak on camera.
Okay. And were they tested? They were, sir. I don't believe they've come back from the DEA. I'm not 100% positive. Now, moving on to Exhibit 4. Did GPS trackers end up playing a role in your investigation? They did, sir. And how so? We intercepted phone calls between Tremaine Grant, Jarrell Palmer, in reference to and some other individuals in reference to a plot to commit robberies through the use of GPS trackers on vehicles. Wow. Did Mr. Grant ultimately purchase some GPS trackers from Amazon? He did, sir. All right. When did you start intercepting calls about GPS trackers? Roughly, if you recall. It was in the month of April. I don't remember the exact date. April of 2023. Yes, sir. All right. If I could publish Exhibit 4, Your Honor, you may. This is from Target Telephone 5, April the 17th, 2023, call 460. Audio playing, y'all. All right. Did you recognize the two voices in that call? I recognize one as Quando's. I couldn't say for sure who the other person is, sir. Okay, the one you recognize as Quando's, what was it that you overheard him saying in that call? That the trackers are at Auntie Frida's house. Auntie Frida's house. Based upon the trackers are at Auntie's Frida's house. Based upon, y'all remember Auntie Frida. Based upon your investigation, do you know who Auntie Frida is? Yes, sir. And who is that? That's his great aunt, Alfreda Brown. How do you know who Alfreda Brown is? She recently did a news interview where she identified herself as his great aunt. Do you see her in court today? I did, sir. I'm not sure if she's in the back corner over there on your left side, sir. All right, thank you. Now I'm going to direct your attention to call 528 on Target Telephone 5, which has already been admitted as Exhibit 5 from April the 20th, 2023. Did Quando speak to Xavier Bradley on that day? He did, sir. Okay. And if I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. They playing the audio. Agent Dascale, did you recognize the voice that spoke the majority of the time in that call? Yes, sir. That was Quando. Okay. The individual who did Quando use the phrase on Crip at the beginning of that conversation? He did, sir. Now, the individual, Quando. Did Quando use the phrase on Crip at the beginning of that conversation? He did, sir. Based on your training and experience, can you explain what the relevance of that is? That would be similar to saying on God. That's paying respect to Crip in this situation, saying that I put this with the same respect that I put Crip. Okay. And we heard Quando talking about bags. Yes, sir. Based upon your investigation, what are bags? A pound of marijuana, sir. And we heard about ticket. Based on your investigation, what was a ticket? That's going to be your price, how much your bill is. We heard about an individual being referred to as the cartel plug. Yes, sir. Can you explain to the court what a cartel plug is, based on your investigation? That would be someone who's either a member of the cartel or closely associated with the cartel who helps to distribute their narcotics. Now, did there come a time during this investigation that investigators executed a residential search warrant? Yes, in April of 2023. Yes, sir. Was that at 1301 East 39th Street? It was, sir. All right. Generally speaking, what was recovered from that location? There were various quantities and types of narcotics, and there were also 4 firearms recovered as part of that search warrant and GPS trackers. All right. And do you recall the types of narcotics recovered? I know there was meth, I believe marijuana, some different sorts of pills. I don't remember what else though. Now let me see. 13. Quando said in the beginning that the trackers was at Auntie Frida's house, but she says she don't know nothing. He's a good guy. So we're going 1301 East 39th Street. All right. Pay attention. I don't remember what else though. All right. And was that on April 26, 2023, that search warrant execution? I believe so, sir. Okay. Turning now to Exhibit 6 that's already been admitted from April 26, 2023, call number 895. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. They playing the audio again. Agent Dascale, did you hear Quando's voice on that call? I did, sir. Did he refer to somebody as trench coat or trench? He did, sir. Based upon your investigation, who is trench coat or trench? Tremaine Grant. Was Tremaine Grant arrested earlier that day in the search warrant execution? He was, sir. Okay. We heard Mr. Bowman, Quando, refer to Section 8, N-words, and 1100. Yes, sir. Based upon your training and experience and your investigation, who are the Section 8 boys? The Section 8 boys are a criminal street gang that operates out of West Savannah, the Augusta Avenue corridor, and the 1100, also a criminal street gang operating in the Savannah area. They would be the primary rivals to Only the Mob. Who is Only the Mob? That's another criminal street gang operating in the Savannah area, sir. Have you seen Quando's music video, ABG? I have, sir. Is there an individual wearing a mask with the letters OTM across the front in Quando's video? There is, sir. Okay. Now, is 1100 and Section 8 N-words the individual he says in the call are telling on him? Does he accuse them of telling on him? Are you asking, is that what he said in the call? Yes, that is what he said in the call. So Quando's accusing people of telling on him and his, all right. All right, now directing your attention to call 909, also made on April 26, 2023. It's already been admitted as Exhibit 7. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. They playing another audio, another intercepted wiretap on Quando's phone. All right. Did you recognize Quando's voice on that call? I did, sir. What was the male voice we heard? Was that the male voice we heard? It was, sir. Was that the individual who said that those folks, Mr. Will, objection to counsel summarizing, Your Honor. He can ask the witness what occurred as opposed to his summary. Sustain. Please rephrase. Did Quando refer to a partners? He did, sir. Okay. What did he refer to the partners having happened to the partners? He said they had been arrested that day. And who was arrested that day? Tremaine Grant. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn your attention to call number 910, made on Target Telephone 5 on April 26, 2023. It's already admitted as Exhibit 8. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. They playing another intercepted phone call, wiretap phone call on Quando. All right. Could you hear Quando's voice on that call? I did, sir. Is that the male voice that we heard? Yes, sir. All right. Now, ultimately, was Target Telephone 9 Quando's phone number as well? I don't remember. I believe so. Okay. After the search warrant execution at 1301 East 39th Street, did calls cease being made on Quando's other lines? Not immediately, but shortly thereafter. Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to a call number 27, from Target Telephone 9 made on June the 3rd, 2023. It's already been admitted as Exhibit 9. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Before we play this call, can you put, based upon your investigation and other calls, what was going on in Quando's life at this time on this day, if you recall, June the 3rd, 2023? I'm sorry, sir. Okay. Would playing the call refresh your recollection as to, I remember that he was at the movie theater this day. Okay. I'm not sure if you're talking something in the bigger picture than that. Okay. So Quando was indicated through some calls that he was going to the movies. Yes, sir. Did he indicate who he was going to the movies with? His daughter. Did he indicate what movie he was going to see? I don't recall that he ever did. Do you believe it was, he may have. You don't recall if it was The Little Mermaid or something like that? It very well could have been. I don't. But with his daughter, yes, sir, who we talked about earlier, yes, sir. If I could play 9 now, Your Honor, you may. Audio playing again, y'all. Agent Dascale, did you recognize Quando's voice on that call? I did, sir. Was he the individual who indicated he was at the movies? Yes, sir. Did he say anything about 1100? He did, sir. He said that there were 10 1100 members there. And what did he request from the other person he called? A banker. And based upon your investigation, what's a banker? A firearm, sir. And who was in an earlier call was Quando accusing of telling on him? 1100. Moving on to Exhibit 10, Target Telephone 9, June 3rd, 2023 again, call 28, the next call in the sequence. If I can play Exhibit 9, Your Honor, or Exhibit 10 rather, you may. Thank you. They're playing audio again. Agent Dascale, did you recognize Quando's voice on that call? I did, sir. Did you hear reference to a Drake? I did, sir. And what is a Drake based on your training and experience? That would be what's called a Draco. That's a common street term for it, which is an AK variant rifle. And what was going on with the Drake based upon that call? Someone was bringing it up there, was already there with it. Did you hear a reference to a 9? I did, sir. And what is a 9 based upon in the context of this particular call, based on your training and experience? A 9mm. Is it a type of handgun? Yes, sir. And what was going on with the 9mm? It was also there. Someone was also holding it. Now, Agent Dascale, are you aware that there were state charges brought in retaliation to this investigation in June of 2023? I'm aware, sir. And there was a bond hearing for Quando in those cases, correct? There was, sir. And he was ultimately released on bond with certain conditions. Yes, sir. Okay. If I could approach, Your Honor, you may. Agent Dascale, I just handed you a 2-page document which has been admitted previously as Exhibit 11. Is that the state bond order? It is, sir. Okay. It's been previously admitted. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Agent Dascale, is this the state bond order here? It is, sir. Okay. And if you could, on the second page there are special conditions. Is that correct? Yes, sir. I'm going to highlight this first condition. Could you read that for the court? No direct or indirect contact with any co-defendants. All right. Is Donald Davis or Lil D a co-defendant in this state case? He is, sir. All right. Now, you're aware that Quando was ultimately arrested for the federal charges and taken into the Chatham County Detention Center back in early December, correct? Yes, sir, I'm aware. Okay. And if I could approach, Your Honor, you may. Agent Dascale, I've handed you what's already been admitted as Exhibit 12. Is that a recorded jail communication between Quando and another individual in this case on their disc? It's a recorded jail call of Quando, sir. I don't believe that the person he is directly communicating with is a co-defendant anywhere. Understood. Okay. I think I've asked that question incorrectly. It's a recorded jail communication call involving Quando and another individual, correct? Yes, sir. Okay. Can you explain to the court how an inmate of Chatham County Detention Center accesses the phone system? So to the best of my knowledge, they get an individual PIN, and they have to use that individual PIN in order to dial out. And then at the beginning of the call, you have to announce your name. Okay. And the system alerts people that that call could be monitored. It does, sir. Mr. Thompson, do we still need Exhibit 11? No, Your Honor. All right, you can take that down. Now, Agent Descale. Agents at CNT have access to the recorded jail communications. Yes, sir. And Exhibit 12 is a recorded call from Quando after his arrest on the federal charges, correct? Yes, sir. Okay. And if I could publish Exhibit 12, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. And this will be on December the 9th, 2023 at about 6:45 p.m. Is that correct? Yes, sir. They playing the audio, y'all. Agent Descale, did you recognize Mr. Bowman's voice on that? Agent Descale, did you recognize Quando's voice on that call? Damn, they just recording the shit out of Quando. I did. Is that the male voice? Yes, sir. Was there a reference to a Kia in that call? That was, sir. Based on your investigation, who is Kia? That's his girlfriend, Jakaya Mohammed. Okay. Did you hear reference to Lil D? I did, sir. And who is Lil D? Donald Davis, sir. Is he a co-defendant on the state charges? Yes, sir. Federal charges as well, I believe. Okay. And was Mr. Davis brought before the federal court prior to Quando's arrest? He was, sir. And what, if anything, did Quando say about with reference to Kaya and Lil D in this conversation? That he was having her reach out to him. And did he receive information in that method? That's what he indicated at the beginning of the call. Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Now, Agent Descale, Quando is a rapper, correct? Yes, sir. Okay, have you reviewed some of Quando's music and things of that nature? I have, sir. Certainly, Quando can publish whatever he wants. We understand that, right? Absolutely. Did Quando? Well, let me ask you this. What relevance is the Crips criminal street gang to your investigation based upon your investigation? Quando is a member of the Rolling 60's Crips. Okay. And has Quando published photographs and things of that nature showing his affiliation with the Rolling 60's Crips? He has, sir. Is there a particular symbol associated with the Rolling 60's Crips? I believe the symbol you're talking about is the same symbol that you would see on a handicap placard, a person in a wheelchair. Okay, and what color generally is Rolling 60's Crips associated with? Blue. Are there photographs of Quando wearing a blue bandana with a pendant necklace with the handicap symbol on it? Yes, sir. The ADA symbol. The ADA symbol? Yes, sir. Based upon your training and experience, what is the relevance of that ADA symbol to the Rolling 60's Crips? The Rolling 60's Crips use that because the person is in a wheelchair, so they will have to roll. They are rolling. And then the background is blue. Yes, sir. All right. Now, can you explain, so did you, as part of your investigation, review a posting by of a new song by Quando in either late November or early December of this year? Yes, sir. Okay. What's the name of that song? Duck the Feds. DUCCDAFEDS. Duck the Feds. Okay. Now again, he can name any song what he wants to, correct? Absolutely. Okay. If I could approach with Exhibit 13, Your Honor, you may. Agent Descale, what do we see there in Exhibit 13? You see a screenshot of the YouTube video for this music video, Duck the Feds. Okay. If I could publish, Your Honor, you may. Thank you. All right. Is that the screenshot we see on the screen here? It is, sir. Okay. Is that Quando in the photograph? It is, sir. Okay. On the bottom left here, we see the name of the music video, correct? We do, sir. How does he spell the word duck? D-U-C-C. What is the relevance of that spelling with two C's to this investigation, the Crips criminal street gang? Y'all see that? To this investigation, the Crips criminal street gang. So generally speaking, Crips don't use CK. because CK can also mean Crip Killer. So they'll change that K to a second C, and you see that across all sorts of writing. So in the last month when this video was posted, Quando is using a title consistent with the Crips criminal street gang. He is, sir. All right. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Your witness on cross. Thank you. Cross-examination. Damn. This is long, but I'm going to go ahead and finish, y'all. All right, this is cross-examination of this agent. I'm guessing from Quando's lawyer. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Now, Quando was stopped around midnight, early morning hours of December 8th through 9th, earlier this month, right? I believe so, sir. And he was driving around downtown, or was actually a passenger in the car. Is that right? I believe he was a passenger, sir. I was not present for this stop. I have no details on that stop. Were you aware that at the stop that no drugs were found in the car, correct? I believe so. To the best of my knowledge, he wasn't charged with anything, so I assume not, sir. And there were no weapons found at that stop, correct? Again, to the best of my knowledge, I can't say 100%. I wasn't there, but not that I was made aware of at any point. Well, you're one of the case agents. I take it since you're here testifying today, right? Yes, sir. One of the duties of a case agent is to be responsible and have knowledge about what takes place during the pendency during the investigation. True? Yes, sir. So if there had been drugs found on December 9th, you would know about it as the case agent. That's fair to say, isn't it? I believe I would, sir. Yes. If there had been weapons found on December the 8th, December the 9th, you would know about it, correct? Again, sir, I believe I would. Now, there were searches done in Taekwon's residence, Quando's residence, or residences, plural, back in June, at the time of the arrest in June, correct? That was, sir. And at that point in time, Quando was living both with Auntie Frida. You've identified her, right? Yes, sir. He was living there, and he was living at his house in Richmond Hill, correct? Yes, sir. Searches were conducted at Auntie Frida's house, right? Yes, sir. That young woman, there she is. That young woman you identified earlier, she's taken out of her house, right? I believe so, sir, yes. And their house was searched, correct? Yes. How much meth was found at Auntie Frida's house? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much cocaine was found at Auntie Frida's house? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much fentanyl was found at Auntie Frida's house? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much marijuana was found at Auntie Frida's house? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How many weapons were found at Auntie Frida's house? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. And that's one of the places that Quando was staying. True? Yes, sir. All right. The other place was his house down in Richmond Hill, correct? Yes, sir. How much meth was found at his house in Richmond Hill? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much cocaine was found at his house in Richmond Hill? Richmond Hill. To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much fentanyl was found? Y'all see where this is going. To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How much marijuana? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. How many weapons? To the best of my knowledge, none, sir. Now, Quando has been stopped on a number of occasions during the pendency of this investigation by SPD, correct? That I'm not sure of, sir. You're not aware that he's been stopped on at least 10 occasions by law enforcement during the period of time that's alleged in your indictment, January 2021 through the present. I'm not aware of those stops, sir. I'm not saying that they didn't happen. I'm telling you that I'm not aware of them. With respect to the federal charges in the indictment, Quando is charged with, and we just covered them, possession with intent to distribute and distribution of meth, cocaine, fentanyl, and marijuana, correct? Yes, sir, I believe that's what the charge is. Tell me when Quando ever possessed meth. Physical possession, sir? Yes, duh. No time that I'm aware of. Tell me when Quando ever sold meth. I'm not aware of any time. Tell me how much meth Quando dealt with during this 2+ year period of the indictment. To the best, none that I'm aware of, sir. When did Quando possess cocaine during the pendency of this conspiracy? I don't know if at any point if that happened, sir. When did Quando sell cocaine at any point during this conspiracy? I don't know if that happened. Man, what do you know? How much cocaine did Quando distribute during this investigation, during this conspiracy? To my knowledge, I don't know. I don't know of any, sir. When did Quando possess fentanyl? I don't know of any specific time, sir. When did Quando sell fentanyl then? I don't know of any specific instances, sir. Well, damn it. How much fentanyl did Quando distribute during the course of this investigation? I don't know, sir. I don't know. I don't know that any at all. How many undercover buys of controlled substances were made from Quando? None that I'm aware of, sir. How many undercover buys of any controlled substance, whether it's meth, cocaine, fent, marijuana? Answer, 0. From Quando? Yes. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, no undercover buys were conducted with Quando. You started working at CNT in January 2021. Is that right? No, sir, it was 2021. It was November, I believe. I'm sorry. November 2021. Counselor asked you about your training experience. Prior to your participation with CNT, while you were a patrol officer at Tybee Island PD, how much training did you receive in drug investigations? It was not a lie, sir. Well, how much training did you receive while you were at Tybee Island PD in gang investigation? I attended the gang conference. I attended the street gang investigator course put on through, also hosted through that. And when was that? That was why I was with Tybee before coming to CNT. I want to say it was early, either 2020 or 2021. I started going through those courses. That's what's wrong. Now, one of the things that you mentioned in answering counsel's question is that there were several Title III wiretaps of Quando, correct? Yes, sir. We intercepted 3 of his phone lines, I believe. 3 of his phone lines. And in none of those conversations do you hear Quando negotiating the price of the purchase of meth. I did not hear that conversation, sir. No. What about cocaine? True. What about fent? True. No. Now let's talk about Government's Exhibit 1 for a minute. That is a conversation between Quando and Donald Davis, Lil D. I think you've identified him as Lil D. Yes, sir. One of the co-defendants in this case and the state case, true? Yes, sir. Did the government have surveillance on Quando during this phone call? I don't believe so, sir, no. Do you know where he was at the time of that phone call? I'm not positive. During the course of that phone call, he expressed being upset with Ken, right? Yes, sir. Where was Ken during the course of that phone call? I'm not sure, sir. Tell me what Ken's name is. I'm not sure, sir. I know him as Ken. Now, one of the things that Quando said is that Ken was tripping, correct? He did say that, sir. He was unhappy with Ken, correct? Yes, sir. On a couple of occasions, he said that Ken was tripping, right? Yes, sir. Why was he upset with Ken, do you know? From what I gathered from the phone call, Ken had pulled out a firearm on someone. And that's your deduction from listening to a number phone call, right? From that specific phone call, sir. And that made Quando angry at Ken, true? I would say that, yes, sir. All right, now one of the things you mentioned, actually, it was in response to a summary question, was that Quando talks about pulling out a gun, right? You had said that in your direct examination. What specifically did I say, sir? Counsel asks you. Quando talks about him pulling out a gun. Quando didn't say I pulled out a gun, did he? No, sir, I don't believe that's what I said either. Okay, just so the record is clear. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. Just so the record is clear, we can agree that Quando was angry at Ken for pulling out a gun. Yes, sir. The government exhibit 2, the individual that Quando is talking with tells him, you left your perks sitting out in the kitchen, correct? Yes, sir. And what that fella told him is that there were 7 of them, right? Yes, sir. Did you ever search, and I don't know what the database is that pharmacies and whatnot maintain for the purpose of, did you ever search a database to see whether Quando had been prescribed Percocet? I did not, sir. You don't know whether those Percocets that they're referring to, and by the way, There are 7 Percocets, right? Yes, sir. You don't know whether those Percocets were from a prescription or not, do you? No, sir. Now, you playing Government's Exhibit 3 when we were interrupted, but it sounds like interrupted by the power going out. Yes, sir. It sounds like Quando is at his house in Richmond Hill doing that conversation, correct? I agree. That's what it seems like to me. All right. And what Quando says is, if I see a N-word do a perk 30 around me, that person no longer my friend, correct? Yes, sir. That's what he said. So I guess somebody stole his perk. And he talks about 30s and fentanyl pills, correct? He does, sir. And he says, I ain't taking no fentanyl. He did say that, sir. And talking about fentanyl, he says that fentanyl is hard to shake, correct? Yes, sir. And then they talk about, by the way, do you know who he's speaking to during this phone call? I believe it was Fee Banks. That would be his manager. Okay, did you ever interview Mr. Banks? No, sir. Talk to Mr. Banks? No, sir. Ever interview Auntie Frida before you saw her on TV? No, sir. He and Mr. Banks talk about someone named OG who's on the stuff, right? They do, sir. And what Quando says is, I don't ever want to ever put me on the phone with OG, correct? He did say that, sir. OG can't even come around me, correct? Yes, sir. So here's someone that apparently Mr. Banks knows, and Quando is saying, that guy's on drugs, don't have him come around me, right? Yes, sir. And Quando finishes that with, and you, Mr. Banks, his manager, I don't think you need him around you either, Fee. He did, yes, sir. And Mr. Banks' name is Fee, right? As far as I know, sir, that's how he had him identified. That's how he called him, okay? Yes, sir. And we didn't listen to the part, but the tape was admitted into evidence. But one of the things that Quando kind of reminisces about with Mr. Banks on that phone call is how he's matured over the years. If he had seen a shooting when he was younger, he would have just said, wow, that person would just pop, right? It was something to that effect. Yes, sir. Okay, that's fair. And then he concludes, like, that shit ain't cool no more, right? Again, something to that effect. Yes, sir. Fair enough. And he talks about his house in Richmond Hills, and he says that house is chill and it's a good place to be, correct? I believe he said that. Yes, sir. Now, Government's Exhibit 4 is the brief conversation that you identified with Trenchcoat, who is Grant, right? Tremaine Grant. Jermaine Grant. Yes, sir. And who put the trackers at Auntie Frida's house? I have no idea. Auntie Frida. Did you listen to calls where Auntie Frida was upset that there was a tracker or trackers at her house? I'm not saying a call like that doesn't exist. I have not reviewed that call, though. Fair. Do you recall Quando being upset that there was a tracker or trackers at Auntie Frida's house? Again, I don't recall, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't recall. Exhibit 5 is a conversation where he's talking with a Mr. Bradley, correct? Yes. And they're talking about the Mexican, right? The gentleman who's the cartel plug. That conversation? Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. And the entire conversation was centered around Quando trying to tell Mr. Bradley, don't deal with that Mexican. He's real crip, or words to that effect, right? I don't know that he ever referred to that gentleman as a Mexican. Okay, all right. But yes, I agree that the conversation was basically him telling Mr. Bradley, don't do business with this person. Stay away from him, he says kind of offensively to Mr. Bradley. You're going to fuck something up and then you're going to be in trouble, right? Yeah. And what he says is he's telling Mr. Bradley, I don't really be fucking around, pardon the language on. I don't really be messing with that big brother, right? Yes, sir. Mr. Withers, you build your record as you deem necessary. Do not worry about my sensibility. That's what the judge told the lawyer. You can curse all you want to. Thank you, Judge. And then he goes on and tells Mr. Bradley, I don't really be talking to them N-words and shit like that, right? I believe that's the substance of it, sir. Right. And he kind of finished up with, that ain't the N-word to be talking to about the SHIT, right? Yeah, he said something along those lines towards the end of that conversation, sir. And so, just in conclusion, with respect to that conversation, Quando is telling Mr. Bradley, don't be dealing with that fella, right? Yeah. And that he ain't going to be dealing with that fella, right? Yes. In fact, he talks a little bit during that conversation about how that guy is kind of trying to get into talking to Quando, right? But he doesn't want that to happen. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily characterize it that way. I believe if I'm from that conversation, it was that he's contacting a lot of people around Quando, but right. That's a fair answer, and I appreciate it. This guy, whoever he is talking to a lot of people around Quando. Quando doesn't like it. He doesn't want Mr. Bradley or anybody else to deal with that guy. That's fair, isn't it? But specifically, Mr. Bradley. I know for sure he told Mr. Bradley not to deal with him. Good deal. Exhibit 6. That's the one where somebody that Quando is talking to is giving him an education about the federal drug sentencing guidelines and mandatory minimums, right? Yes, sir. And he actually educates Quando about this thing called mandatory minimum sentencing in the federal system, right? Yes, sir. He tells him about 924C, right? He did tell him about that, yes, sir. Says that's when you got, and I'm paraphrasing, drugs and bangers, right? I believe that's what they said, yes, sir, something to that effect. Now, Exhibit 7 is when Quando speaks to Kaya's mom, correct? Is that who he was speaking to? If you don't know, you can just say you don't know. Yeah, I did not know who he was on the phone with. Okay. You had said in your direct examination that this conversation occurred on the day of Tremaine Grant's arrest. Just to give you an opportunity, if the public record shows that Tremaine Grant's arrest was April 21st of 2023, you wouldn't dispute that. I would not dispute that, and I would apologize for making that mistake, sir. It's a lot of information, and one of the things that Quando says is, or strike that, one of the things that you focus on in answering questions is about Quando saying the word partners, correct? Yes, sir. I believe that was the substance of the question that was asked to me on direct. Yes, but the complete sentence is, them folks was kicked. Them folks was locked, lined up on the block, punching my partners and jive up boy. Do you remember that? I don't know what they mean. No, sir. No, sir. Bob, can you play excerpt 26? Yes, sir. It's a switch set to. I haven't touched anything. Wait 1 second. Give Mr. Davenport a chance to make that change, and while she's doing that, if you can identify where this particular snippet is coming from, I will, Your Honor. This is Exhibit 7. Bob, do you have the rest? Do you have the time of that? Let's simplify this. If I may, Mr. Withers, is this an excerpt contained somewhere within government's Exhibit number 7? Yes, Your Honor. It'll be a piece that's already been played to the court. You're repeating a portion of it. That's adequate for identification. Thank you. They playing the audio. So that's what I was correct that what he talks about is them folks was kicked. Them folks was locked, lined up on the block, punching my partners and jive up bro. Yes, sir. That's what the excerpt says. He talks about those folks was locked. You don't know what that means? I don't. He talks about lined up on the block punching. You don't know what that means? I don't. And then, with respect to Exhibit 9, there are 2 phone calls where he's at the movie theater, correct? Yes, sir. And counsel asks you, he's there with his daughter, right? Yes, sir. And 10 guys, 1100s. Is that what you said? Yes, sir. Walk in, correct? Yes, sir. That's what was indicating the call. And Quando says they're looking tough and shit, correct? I believe he said that or something to that effect, sir. Fair enough. And then Exhibit 10, just right after that, what? And this is Lil D he's talking to, or Davis. Is that right? I don't know that for sure. Okay. What that person says is chill. Just chill, cuz. Correct. Yes. And that's what happened, correct? Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this way. These calls have been intercepted in real time, correct? They are, sir. And are you aware of any incident that took place at the theater that day, that hour? I only assume what movie theater it was, but for the best of my knowledge, no, sir. No incidents occurred that night. No fighting at the movie theater, no shooting, nothing that I'm aware of. Now, were you involved? Oh, by the way, with respect to the government's exhibit, that's the jail tape that's played Saturday evening, December the 9th. I believe that's when it was from, sir. And that would be the same day he's arrested in early morning hours. That would be later that same day that he's been arrested, right? Yeah, it would have been the same day or the next day, but it was within that time frame, yes, sir. And what he says, and he's talking to Aunt Tess. Do you know that? Yes, sir. And what he says to Tess is he's asked Kyrie to find out what had happened with Lil D, right? Yes, sir. And that's because he doesn't know what's happened to whom, and it's a federal arrest, right? Yes, sir. And what Tess says, she says, I don't know why this is even happening because everybody would have just turned themselves in, right? I do believe she said that, yes, sir. And let's talk about that for a minute because Quando was arrested, or actually he turned himself in back in June, correct? He did, sir. And he did that as Auntie Tess describes, the Friday before a long weekend, correct? I believe that's correct. And then he bonds out through the state system, the Superior Court system, right? Yes, sir. You were involved, I trust, in that case, correct, as one of the case agents. Yes, sir. It's all the same investigation. And did you go to court with Quando when he went to court, or strike that? Were you in court in the Superior Court case, the state case, when there were bond hearings, arraignments, and have you? So the initial hearing, when they said bond, I was present in court that day. I did not testify. All right. Were you present on any other occasion when Quando responded to court? I was not, sir. Well, let me ask it this way. There were several hearings in state court of Chapman County, correct? I believe so. The state moved to revoke Quando's bond, correct? They did do that. Yes, sir. And that was denied, correct? On two separate occasions, I believe. Right. Well, the second, to be fair, Your Honor, the second occasion they're trying to get him excluded from Chapman County. I'm sorry. That's okay. That was denied. So it was one denial of a revocation, correct? Yeah, that sounds correct. And then the second one was the denial of an amendment to exclude him. They tried to kick Quando out of Chapman County. That sounds correct. To your knowledge, on every occasion that there was a court appearance in state court, Quando responded, did he not? I believe you if you tell me he did. Again, I wasn't there myself. As the case agent, you would have been alerted that he had not appeared in court, I trust. Yes, sir. If he hadn't showed up, I do believe someone would have told me. So during the course of this conspiracy, January 2021 to December 2023, how much money did Quando Rondo make through his music business? I have no idea, sir. The indictment charges Quando with being a drug dealer, right? It does, sir. How much money did he make dealing drugs from January 21 to December 23? I don't know, sir. The federal and state agents participated in the search of Quando's residence back in June of 2023, did they not? At least federal agents for sure. I don't remember exactly what the makeup of those search teams were. The SPD, or agents that participated, seized hundreds of thousands of dollars of Quando's jewelry at their residence. Were you aware of that? I was aware that some jewelry had been taken, yes, sir. Do you have any idea what the value was? I'm not sure. I believe it's been appraised, but I don't know what the appraisal number was. Is there any evidence in your investigation, sir, authorizing the agents to seize those hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry? Those were federal search warrants written by a federal agent. I'm not sure what the court authorized the seizures of in those warrants. Would you agree with me that you are not aware of any evidence authorizing him to take Quando's jewelry? True. I'm not trying to put you in a bad place, Agent, but let's look at it this way. As you see here today, you can't tell me any reason other than the search was conducted, any evidence that ties that jewelry to some drug conspiracy. That's fair to say, isn't it? If you could have one moment, I'm getting tired of reading now, y'all. Redirect examination. God diggity doggy. Agent Dascale, fair to say, we didn't play every call intercepted in this case, right? Yes, sir. Were you aware? Do you remember a call involving Quando and Mr. Graham when they discussed 10,000 blues? I'm sure I've listened to it, sir. I don't specifically remember that call. I need to listen to it. Okay, do you remember calling involving Quando and Miss Janae Albert discussing the negotiations of 900 pills? I'm sorry, 90 pills to Quando. That I do remember, yes, sir. Did they negotiate a price in that call? I don't remember the call verbatim. I need to listen to it. Thank you. Very well, agent. That concludes your testimony. You may resume your seat. Testimony of Agent Descare concluded at 2:39. All right. That's just a report. All right. Thank you. We got through that, y'all. Woo, Lord, there was a whole lot of reading. So I hope y'all appreciate that. So what did we learn? Because it looked like you might see, if you read between the lines, Quando, the Road to 60's, Big U, and all of these things are happening around the same time as he denounces his allegiance. So there y'all go. True. Y'all like, share, subscribe, support. Stay blessed, stay true, and stay safe. I'm out.